So today's topic is MS-DOS startup task. So last class we saw about Microsoft startup task. So today we are going to study about MS-DOS. This is a bit of theoretical part because this MS-DOS, why you're studying this, as a forensic investigator, you must know the entire, what to say, the entire kind of operating systems of different systems, because as I told you yesterday, not only the current systems you'll be analyzing, some of the criminals will use very old systems, so we must be in thorough with all the different kind of systems that were existing. So moving on to that, generally in any operating system you have an input output system file, which is the first loaded file when the system starts booting. So generally this IO system, it will reside in the RAM and it has all the input output services. So the second that is loaded into the RAM is the MS-DOS. Okay. So MS-DOS is the one which will load all the command.com. Yesterday we saw about the command list of command.com files. So this is like a story that we are going to read. So in 1970, the CPM was the first unique computer that was developed. And then later on, okay, that CPM, what are the features you must know? So generally it is 8-inch floppy and it had a Zilog Z80 processor with 64 KB RAM. Okay. Then in the 1980s, they moved on to IBM, which has built-in Z80 CPU. And then you know this MS-DOS, which was developed. So MS-DOS is the one which this majority of the operating system uses MS-DOS only. Okay. Okay. Then from this MS-DOS, they also created in 1980 the DR-DOS. So DR-DOS is similar to that of MS-DOS. It uses the same FAT12 and FAT16 also. Then and IBM, then it created its first PC, which uses the 8086 processor. So it was obviously that when the processor is increased, the speed of the processor increases the capacity of the system. So IBM systems were very efficient systems. Then the IBM also introduced another one, which is built into the PCs. It was called PC DOS. So it works, PC DOS works more like the MS DOS. And the small differences here and there is the ios.sys is called as ibmio.sys. It's just a name change, but the working is going to be same. Okay. So this is about MS startup task. So this is a lot of theoretical, it's a theoretical part only. So that is what you need to understand about this MS-DOS. So I'll just scroll on. The idea behind this question is starting from the 90th century, what were the different systems that were in use? What was its processor? What was the speed of it? And whether it used, what type of operating system it used. So that is about this MS-DOS startup task. Why we are studying this topic is because there will be some of the systems which is going to be it's going to be old systems which the terrorist or someone will use to do his technical operations. So if we need to investigate them, we need to know the old system and its features also. That's why they are introducing these kind of topics. Okay, now let me go to the forensic tools. So you can just have a look at the forensic tools. So I had a FPP workshop last Saturday and Sunday, and it was a very effective one. So they gave us a lot of other DIS tools which can be used for cyber forensics. So some of them in this list are freely downloadable, some are not. I have a PDF of it. I will put it in the group. You can go through it. Okay. And you can also work on it if you're interested. In this FTK Imager is freely downloadable. We were trying to work FTK Imager in the FTB program in the technical session. So you can try to use that when you're free. And some email analysis is also there. Then file and data analysis. So this I will send you the PDF. Okay, so don't worry about it. Now we'll go to the virtual machines, the next topic. So you all know what is a virtual machine, right? That is, it's just having a remote operating system inside your current operating system. Okay, why? To reduce the cost of the hardware. For example, you can run another operating system on your laptop, on your physical computer, whatever computer it is. So virtual machine is making another operating system run in yours. Okay. I'll repeat it again because my internet connection is a little bit slow. I'll repeat it again. So virtual machine is enabling another operating system to run on your physical computer. Okay. So this is a virtual server screen. It's a VMware server. It's you can try VMware also in your systems. You can install it and try. So this is actually running the Windows XP Professional on Windows 98. Okay. So they are installing XP Professional on 98. You can do 98 in XP, XP in 90, any operating system you can put. For example, if you have Windows 2000 installed or Windows Professional installed in your laptop, and if you want to look into some, or if you want to investigate on the features of Windows 98 using the VMware server, you can bring in your Windows 98 into your Windows 2000 laptop. That is possible. So generally, what are the two main files? One is a configuration file. So configuration file is important for any machine, whether it's virtual machine or it's a laptop or current machine, physical machine, desktop, whatever it is. So what it does, the configuration, it will have tell you the system, entire system. What are the OS files in that? What is the user data file? Everything will give you the entire system details. And also you'll have something called the hardware components. It will tell you what are the hardware components. Suppose I told you that let's take the same example, Windows 2000. So in Windows 2000, I'm going to try to access Windows 98. So the hardware components in that operating system, Windows 98, also can be recognized by the virtual machine. So I can see their mouse, keyboard, their disk drive, CD drive, their pen drive. Okay, that is possible. Okay, that is the greatest advantage. For example, the virtual machine can recognize a CD or DVD drive and it can auto detect. Okay, it can also recognize, but some of the virtual machines cannot recognize a USB drive. That is a drawback. So CDs, generally everyone does it, but USB, there's a bit problem. Okay. Then, okay, this is the example. So suppose your company has upgraded to Windows Vista, but you want to use 98, you can still do it. Okay. One great advantage is if you're running several virtual machines, you can pause. That is, you can run multiple operating system in your virtual machines, and you can pause and keep them as guest operating system. You can keep as Windows 98 as guest 1, Windows 2000 guest 2, Windows Vista guest 3. You can keep like that. You can pause it each time and try to analyze the details. Then, okay, so how do you create a virtual machine? So this is quite interesting, but more if you try it out by yourself, that will be the best thing about it. So some of the common creating virtual machines are this VMware server. VMware server is widely used. You can try it if you get a trial version. You can try it out. And VirtualBox is an open source program. So you can try even VirtualBox. I've given the website for it. And Virtual PC 2007 also is downloadable freely from the particular website, Microsoft.com Virtual PC. So you can just make a note of it if you want, and you can try it. How, no, if any of you have tried it, you just put a video or take a small video or what have you done, you just PDF it or take a photo and PDF it and send it to me in my WhatsApp or to my mail ID. Okay, so that we can, if anybody has tried this, I recommend you to try it because it's quite interesting. Okay? And the process is simple nowadays to create a virtual machine. So let's go how to create a virtual machine. So if you've already done, they're just saying that you need to just install the Microsoft Virtual PC. And yeah, the first thing, suppose if you've already done, you're simply going on with it. If you've not done this, the first time you're going to do, they're recommending Microsoft Virtual PC because that's a freely downloadable one. In case if you're going to do virtual PC, so here in your textbook, they have explained about virtual PC installation. You can do that and you can write this for your exam also, if, in case if they ask for any example. So how do you do in that? Generally, you go and open the create virtual machine option. I'll show in the figure. So here you have a, look at this figure, you have new virtual machine wizard. So if you go to the home page, there is a button which says that you can add or add an existing one. If you've already installed one, you can add that to the current virtual machine. If you're creating a new one, these are the steps. So you need to select the default steps. One second. Okay, so this is nothing but you either select your virtual machine or you use default settings to create a virtual machine. You can automatically create it if you have already set the settings in the default. Okay, or you can add an existing virtual machine. Okay, this is the main way to do. Then you, once you click onto it, you can give select. Sorry, next. So next, what happens is you can do it on a particular location, whatever your instructor tells, or if it is done by yourself, you allocate a particular location on which you want to install it because the location is very important. Usually use an external hard disk so that it doesn't take a lot of space of your system or laptop. So connect an external hard disk and try to locate your current software in that. And next, what you do is you also have a memory window. So in the home page, there'll be a window which says memory window. It will tell you how much of RAM you want to allocate for that operating system. Because you're invoking a new operating system, you need to allocate RAM also for it. And also you have a virtual hard disk option window. Okay, there is a virtual hard disk option window, and that is optional. Either you can keep it default or you can take it. We are not going to much be worried about it, but anyway, you can see how this PC console works. So virtual PC. So once you have clicked on to this create a virtual window, then it comes here and it will, here already in their program, they have set in the default for the Windows Server 2003. So they are going to, in this example, they are going to install the Windows Server 2003 into their virtual PC. Okay, so it is already there and they are going to give start and it is going to be installed. So that is with regard to the installation. So let me repeat it. So virtual machine, I told you it is going to install in your operating system another one. To make it very simple, if I'm having Microsoft 2000 Professional in my laptop, I want to learn about Windows 98 or something else, Windows 98 for example, I can create a virtual machine, and using the virtual machine, I can call that Windows 98 into my virtual machine. Now I have the Microsoft 2000 also in my laptop, and as well as the 98, I can learn both the features. Now the Microsoft Windows 98 will act like a guest, and I can pause at times, and I can even pause the operating system. It need not have to be run throughout. So thereby I can also save my CPU cycles time, because I cannot pause my Windows 2000 because that is the default operating system in my laptop. But using the virtual machine, whatever operating system I'm using in my virtual machine, that I can pause whenever there is any CPU cycle time is wasted, or if there is any bandwidth problem. Now, this is the freely downloadable ones. So what are the steps we generally follow is, suppose any, whatever it is, even if it is not virtual PC, anywhere, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to go to the home page and identify the new virtual machine wizard, where you're going to add a new virtual machine. So either you're going to create a new one, or you're going to add an existing one, okay? Or default settings itself, sometimes they set it. You can set it to the operating system configuration files can be set in the default settings, so it will automatically do. But in general, we can create it newly, okay? So once we have done that, we can also include the RAM, and that is done through the memory window. So this is how it will be. And when you give start, it will start taking the Windows Server 2003 OS. So now the next part of it is, there will be an ISO image, okay? That image has to be, it's like, it is very important for any guest OS. Why? Because the guest OS, when it has to install in your system, there must be some product key. What is a product key? The product key is like a encryption key using a cryptographic method. You know that the operating system is a valid one, and you're not doing some malware program into your laptop, right? That is very important, because virtual machine, when you want to download Windows 98, I need to know the product key to install it. Okay, that key is nothing but a encryption key is required. So then only using that encryption key, or the product key you call it, using that, I am sure that I am downloading a secured operating system. Got it? So in the virtual PC console, you make sure that the Windows Server 2003, in this case, they have taken Windows Server 2003 virtual machine is selected, and then they give the start button. So when they select this virtual server 2003, the product key also will be given, and that will be in the form of an ISO image. Okay, so you have to enter the location of the ISO image. You must give the name of the owner and the company name. All that will be given in the product key. When you buy that OS, not buy, when you try to access the OS, you must get the product key. That is the idea behind it. So when you do that, when you create your, when you request for the product key, it will ask for the domain name creation. It will ask you to create a password, because you have to take the product key. Unless and until you prove yourself that you are an administrator that of your operating system, and you have a password, so using that only you can install that in your system. So after it is installed, if you press this Control or Delete, it will activate the host computer. Okay, this is the way getting a proper license to your host computer and putting it into your laptop. So generally the hard disk of the will have this .vht extension and .vmc extension. These are all the hard disk files and configuration files. So if you see in this diagram, you'll have on the right hand side it says Windows Server 2003 hard disk .vht, Windows Server 2003.vmc, Windows Server 2003.vsp. So these are all nothing but the hard disk files, configuration files required. Whenever after you install, it will show all the hard disk files and configuration files. And if you want to see what type of physical computer it is, you can open the virtual PC console. You can go on to the settings, and you can see the entire hardware settings of that particular host machine. And you can also rename your virtual machine. Okay, Windows 2003, you can name it something else. So that can be done here, and you can see in this diagram. So this is the settings. They have gone to the settings of the Windows 2003 server. You have a lot of things. You can access all these settings. File name can be changed. Okay. So with this, we have just, I'll just tell you what is left behind for us to complete. Yeah, so today we have finished MS-DOS startup task and virtual machines. Both we have finished. So we remaining one topic is examining the NTFS disk. Okay, with this, with the last topic of tomorrow's class, our portion will be completed. And I'll send you, I have a PDF for this NTFS disk. Okay, and this PDF, I'll just share that PDF now. One second. No, I want to share one more thing. Just stay online. So tomorrow, most probably the last topic, examining NTFS disk, will be over, and with that your 5th unit will be over. Just a second, I'll mute myself. Give me just 1 minute.